an architectural meeting. We have a few items on the agenda today, and we'll start from Tariq. So you can either join BlueJeans, or if you want, I can share the document. I'm already there.
Is it shared?
Yeah, you're sharing Outlook.
Outlook?
Mm-hmm.
Can you share an Outlook?
Share Chrome. Do you have it?
This one. Okay. So I think this is a community improvement request. There are cron jobs which runs the queue processes in the background, and so there is like a consumer runner process which checks if there is any process for that particular queue is running. If not running, then it will spawn the process in the background, and the process will check if there are messages, and then it goes to sleep also after after it processes message and goes to sleep and then comes back. So the problem which raised was there are some queues which will be running the processes for a much longer period, and it will just be exhausting resources without being efficient. So because each process takes up some memory, some footprint. So the suggestion was that to introduce a flag which can tell that for how long you can stay idle as a process, and then after a certain configured period of time, the process can kill itself rather than continue running and wasting the resources. So that was one suggestion, and the other part was that they were also concerned that when we update any new feature, and if you want to run a new code which are recently deployed for the queue process, that I have to pick up also. So we have the poison pill process. So it does check if any new message comes, it does first check that is it a new code? Do I need to get the new code, or if it does fail on the poison pill check, then it will restart itself. It will kill itself, and the cron, the main runner, will reinitiate the process. But the is that it will not going to happen until there is some message in the queue. So it will keep running again until it finds a message in the queue. Then it will do the poison pill check and then kill itself. So the suggestion was maybe to put a message, a dummy message into the queue so that it does check the poison pill, or I think the combination of the maximum idle time and this feature that there is a proposal. Let me open that. Maximum idle time. This is the time that how much time that it can stay idle. So that is configured, and then this flag only spawn when message is available. So this is a proposal that on the initial runner, which initiates the queue processes, that can be a little bit intelligent and see if there is a message in the queue, then only spawn the job queue process. Otherwise, just don't even bother it, because then you will run it and then it will continue running for a certain period of time, then it will kill itself. So why bother creating another process if there is no message? So I think the introduction of this only spawn when message available with maximum idle time will solve both of the issues, long running process, and if there is it doesn't have to wait for a new message to shut down itself. So both of these will be solving the problem.
What will be the recommendation for one side of time, or somebody can decide what to put there?
Yeah, it will give the flexibility to the site administrator to configure it the way they want to set up the site. So that was also the intention, to give more flexibility. If they don't want to wait at all, then maybe they can set it to 0. And as soon as the queue process will find that there is no further message to process, it will want to shut down itself immediately. But the ability to configure it will be on the administrator of the site. The only thing there, based on I don't know the code very well, but I gone through the code. It looks like the cron job runner, which initiates the job, it doesn't have any intelligence right now in terms of checking the queue, and it's morely like a kind of like a callback process that triggers. So that process will need to have some kind of a refactoring done. Some intelligence will be there, checking the queue if there is a message. So I'm working with Alex in Germany to find out that if it's possible, it's not too much headache, then we can go ahead with that.
Any comments on this?
No.
Should we just merge it, or do we wait for the update from Alex?
Yeah, I will,
possible?
because he has some good experience. So I'll wait for his final thoughts and verify that it's feasible. If it's too much, changing of the code and refactoring, then we might can think something else.
Okay, that's good. Okay, if no questions, we can move probably to the next item. So I have one item. Let me share the screen. There is a question from the community whether we are going to start using PSR 12, which has been already accepted and which actually replaces PSR 2 standard. So the idea behind PSR 12 is just to cover new features in PHP, because older standards just didn't take it into account. So question to us is probably whether we have any concerns about introducing, switching to this standard. So in my opinion, I would just go ahead and switch to PSR 12. But if there are any other opinions, so the only concern that can be is that it will start validating more things, and if currently code style didn't fail, it might start failing because of new rules. But I think it would be very critical to add it in new releases. It's just a development tool. Any other opinions? Okay, I guess everybody's okay with that. So another topic is auto increment in MySQL 8. We are looking now into adding support for MySQL 8, and there are some issues with that. So one of the issues is getting last auto increment, and the problem. So what's the problem is that in MySQL 8 they added the caching layer for I think it's called table status. Yeah, in table status, which we are using to retrieve latest auto increment. MySQL 8 added caching layer, which behaves a little bit unexpected. So in some circumstances, it just doesn't return any information. So it returns information only if there is an auto increment field on the table and if somebody has already accessed this table, and I think if there is data in this table. In all other cases, it just returns null, which means that if you have just created a table and nobody was reading from it, you will get null. So this changes our interfaces that we have. So we have in the adapter, we have show table status, and I believe we have something like get auto increment. And those methods return a different result for MySQL 8. Possible solutions that we are considering. So one solution is.
But why did they do it?
MySQL performance.
Probably not on performance, but probably they try to resolve concurrency problem and the exclusive locking. If several threads trying to get lock with this auto increment value, probably they had some reasoning behind it.
Maybe the problem for.
Agree with Igor. Actually, this is not a correct behavior when we are trying to get a new ID for auto increment. This is not safe at all for concurrent usages.
Okay, so the use cases that we have, main use case is import functionality. What else? So there is some usage in MView, and we don't know who else may rely on this method in extensions. So basically, we need to make a decision what are we doing with this method. The options are: first, just remove auto increment from the interface and say that you should not rely on it, and we'll need to go and refactor our code, and also it will be a breaking change. For people, I didn't put another solution here, but we can keep it as is and just say that show table status just returns what returns. I personally don't like this idea because, I mean, this is an interface and it should behave the same way. And one more option that we are considering is disable table status cache. It's possible, it's what they actually recommend, what people are doing. There is still one problem with that. It doesn't give us necessary result in some cases. So it doesn't return result, if it's a newly created table with no queries to it. So it resolves the issue in some other cases, but still not always. So.
But do we have these cases where we just created a table and requesting the table status right after?
Maybe there are no cases, but this is part of the interface. So I mean, we need to decide whether we solve it or it will be an unexpected behavior. So yeah, we were discussing with Anton, and I think Anton's idea is that we should not rely on auto increment. It's a bad practice, and we should start getting rid of it. So that's probably
right now we have even worse situation. We are trying to guess next auto increment. This is not safe. Not safe for cloud because cloud has a 3 auto increments actually. This is not safe for concurrent usage. In case you are using not a regular Chrome, but you are using I don't know, queue and workers, you can face concurrent access to this method. Yep, this will be a break-in change, but this is mandatory break-in change, which I believe we can communicate properly.
One more note from my side is that, for example, show table status, for me it seems incorrect method on the adapter interface, because I believe probably each adapter will be returning some different things and it doesn't really have any strict format, and then maybe you can tell something about that. So to be honest, I would remove this method at all. I don't know, maybe we can figure out the replacement for it, which would be more reasonable for an interface, or we just should have it, I don't know, implemented in a different way.
So I think if we there is another side of this issue, whether or not we want to fix it in 2.3 to give everyone performance benefits, and if we can fix it in 2.3 and 2.3 will become faster, then it might make sense to keep existing problem in the core with unreliable implementation, but make everything else more performant. And in 2.4, we would refactor all of the usages and eliminate dependency on this after increment field. What do you think about that? There is actually another solution in the comment with analyze table. I think this is what they were suggesting to do in the documentation. So maybe we can see if that solution doesn't give a lot of degradation, then maybe
I don't think that this is a good idea. This is table statistics gathering, and we don't want to run table statistic gathering during our regular workflows. So when we need this method, we call in this method during import to guess an UID, which is logically wrong. Okay, let's assume that we want to keep it. In case we will run, we will put analyze table into this logic. We will run table statistic regathering for each product row that we are going to insert. I don't know. It may work for one environment and completely don't work for another one. We cannot predict how it will behave because it may depend on instance configuration.
But we currently have this problem, right? We are not making existing problem worse. We are just not fixing it. But potentially we can make performance on most of the scenarios faster. Like import is a very rare backend scenario. Most of the scenarios are fetching of data.
My point is, okay, for some cases, when we see that we have a feature gap or something works completely incorrect, we have to do breaking changes. But and actually, right now we don't have an actual interface. We have an array, and this array has some key. You just remove this key from array. So this will not break all clients of this method. It will affect only clients who are trying to utilize this method. But yep. So right now, I see that we have a inappropriate logic that should be fixed.
Yeah, I agree. I understand your point. But if we want to if we want to like fix this problem, then I would propose not do this in 2.3 because it will create problem for the merchants to upgrade, because most likely we will have to bump framework version to make sure that extensions that rely on this like functionality would not be able to install anymore, and someone will have to check the compatibility. And if you do that,
I
then
strongly disagree.
It's very hard to
strongly disagree. We don't need to change this on framework level. methods will remain the same. So only thing we have to do, we have to fix our imports to remove redundant dependency of increment recalculation. We have to slightly change MView logic, which is pretty straightforward, and we can do this in backward compatible manner. There are no backward incompatible change when we change in something under the hood of our methods. This is totally fine. Yep, we know that MySQL 8 behaves in other ways than MySQL 5. Sorry? Say this again.
But if it's part of the interface, I'm sorry, if it's part of the interface,
which interface?
Interface of the adapter.
We will not change interface of adapter. We will not change behavior of adapter method. We will just change the two methods. We will leave it as it is. We will not change.
I understand that on the code it's backward compatible, but it's not backward compatible by the behavior.
Yep, because this is two different databases, and we can put this in this information into documentation. So on our side, we can do our best. We can fix such usages to remove dependency on particular MySQL version. For a community guides, I believe this is good enough to say, okay, MySQL 8 behaves in other ways than MySQL 5. So be aware that we don't suggest you to use after increment field to question any U after increment. But if you still want to do this, be aware that MySQL 8 behaves in other ways than MySQL 5.
Sorry,
we should not try to.
I missed some part of the question. How critical are these changes, and how many people may be affected, and how many behavior may be?
So for now in Magento we use it in import. There are some usages in MView, but I didn't analyze it deeply, and we don't know who from extensions can use it, can rely on it. We can do some analysis probably on marketplace, and we can ask people and see it if anybody relies on it, but we don't know for now. So you asked about the impact. What would be how it will help us?
Regarding MView, this is nothing significant. It can be removed here.
So there are two places in Magento core, and some places may be in extensions. So what's your suggestion? If it's not widely used and we can refactor those two places, what do you suggest? Because I personally don't like the idea of keeping show table status as is and return different results based on MySQL version.
Different databases. MariaDB will return a completely another result for its case. So developers should be aware about database and features that this database provides. In case
I would deprecate and remove it in 2.4 to not even confuse.
Okay.
But how we currently return the results of the table status? Is it an array or string or whatever?
Array.
Array.
And the array with with some predefined keys, or it's always up to
whatever database returns, we just run that. So yeah, based on an agent, I guess whatever can be returned.
So, but in our code currently we have dependency on particular keys of this array.
Yes, auto increment, for example.
So
I can show how it's implemented.
But
so
I expect that we already have some different behavior for like MariaDB 10.1 and 10.2, which we support.
Actually, we do. Maybe nobody reported these issues, but definitely, if somebody relies on Magento, on database metadata, the metadata always will be different. Depends on version, depends on provider. So it's fine.
Correct, yeah? that's one of the idea behind the adapter, just to abstract from these differences between all the relational databases and provide a single API for all database access layer behind it. But currently we see that we could
leaks. Actually,
we could probably just remove this method. We can analyze what we use from it and maybe just introduce specific methods instead of that, and if we can cover them for different engines that we support. But it probably makes sense for 2.4. For 2.3, I don't know, we can either implement some workaround to return the same thing.
How we currently process this query for two different databases, Maria and MySQL, because I expect that it would be different.
Maybe it just returns the same thing for what we need. I don't know.
Yeah, it might just return.
So actually, we don't know. I believe for
it's return the same values for all MySQLs currently.
Except 8. I believe for 2.3 this is enough to fix existing places in code, and I like idea to maybe introduce an interface, real interface for 2.4, and replace this method with a clean interface which will return only values that we really need and we want to expose as a part of Magento, not Magento, database table metadata.
Mm-hmm. So you agree that in the future for 2.4, remove this method, right? Show table status and replace with more specific methods for what we really need, right?
I would say not remove, but deprecate. We cannot force not use this, but actually we can highlight that. Okay, right now we see that depends on vendor. This method will return in a different data, so be aware about it.
We can deprecate it right now, probably.
I believe we cannot. We should introduce a replacement before we deprecate something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We can recommend to use direct query instead of this method.
Yeah, but I believe this is general recommendation. Never try to guess next ID.
No, but it's not only auto increment. Like there is more information in there.
Yeah, but actual issue is caused by tries to guess after increment field.
We're already trying to guess the next ID, and that's why we have the sequence implementation.
It's not exactly true. Sequence is responsible for providing it. So,
so the statement never try to get the next available ID actually is not correct, because we have the particular implementation.
In PHP, okay.
But sequence probably works differently. It reserves.
Okay. In case we are speaking about UID, yes, this is not correct. But actually, never try to guess in application next after increment in database. I believe this is good enough.
Okay. So yeah, that makes sense for 2.4, for 2.3. So let's agree on something. So Anton, you propose, as I wrote here, you propose just return whatever is returned and document it. And fix the import.
Exactly.
Or other places. Why not implementing the workarounds, available workarounds to return the same thing? Like, what will be the drawback for that? You think performance will be dropped?
In case we will, I don't think that this is a good idea to force any MySQL configurations on Magento level. Magento, this is just an application. MySQL configuration, this is responsibility of administrator, in particular merchant. If we are trying to force some values, it can be unpredictable. it can cause conflicts with merchant installations and merchant configuration, and
Okay.
we cannot cover all
It's,
possible cases. So this is
if
my
we
point.
use
So
this with analyzed table.
Analysis is, I believe, in case we even Google the statement, is it okay to analyze table on each insert? I believe Google will answer our question very straightforward. This is
No,
very
but you
inefficient.
probably don't need it on each insert. You will need it only if status does not return you the value, and it will be probably.
What about if status return you a cached value? You still need the actual value. Anyway, I believe that this is kind
you will
of.
still use the status table status. If it doesn't return out increment, we use analyze table.
Yeah,
Okay,
actually, problem not in that returned value is null. Problem is that returned value is cached, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
And
exactly.
analyze table clean up the cache.
Yeah. So it will clean up.
This is always a bad idea to clean up the cache for each request.
But if the usages, there is a big possibility that we will not have. If we can keep the same performance for the scenarios where this increment ID is used when we clear cache, and all other scenarios improve, then I would personally vote for delivering workaround in 2.3. Because all other scenarios improve, scenarios where we rely on increment ID have the same performance with clearing cache. It has value and it's backward compatible. So I would propose to do this for 2.3. I'm not sure about making just saying that now this interface just returns a different value in a patch release. It's hard to predict how many people will be affected.
Yes, but people.
So let's vote this on Twitter. I don't know, but this is I really don't see any reason why we have to analyze table before each insert.
It's hard to explain this question on Twitter.
Okay, it's much more simpler than explain why we analyze table before each insert.
It looks like the interface for this method, what it should do and what it should return is not clear because it depends on the implementation of the database. So these kind of methods should not be there in the first place, right? So just to depreciate maybe that, and next time if we introduce something like that, we have to be very specific with what this interface is doing. What is the expected value, what it will gonna return, even if the implementation changes from one database to another database, the specification for that API should be consistent.
Yeah. So I guess we all agree that we want to remove this method, or do something with it and replace with more specific methods. So that we all agree to that. But in my opinion, we can do it only at least in the next minor release in 2.4. And right now, backward compatibility, I would also support Igor and try to implement a workaround, measure performance. If it's okay, then just have this workaround.
Yeah, but along with that,
it's too ugly workaround.
Yes.
Nothing prevents us to deprecate this method, and if possible, just to refactor existing business logic which currently relies on it.
Yeah, we can do that.
And probably it also makes sense to put that explicitly in our documentation and don't recommend to SIs and third-party developers to use like MySQL specific table statuses and call an analyze table and so on and so forth.
We will need probably, if it deprecates show table status, we need to analyze what it returns and either provide some alternatives or.
I don't think that we need to call it explicitly. By the way, we also have the Galera. Whether Galera provides the same output.
Yes.
So
Probably no. Andrei?
Andrei is constantly replying yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No.
Actually, this is guys. I'm really against this decision. We cannot put analyze table before each insert. So this is cannot be a
It's
background.
not before each insert. It's only when you need it.
In
Probably
import,
only the
in import, in import. Before each
Not-
insert in import. Yep.
not on each.
Yeah.
So
Before.
For imports, we
this is
definitely
ugly and
need to
this is
fix. You agreed?
Yeah,
And
we definitely
we
need
can
to fix
fix
implementation of
import.
import. We have to fix it in view. And
that's
yeah,
Fine, we can fix it. Yeah,
that's
that's
actually
fine.
what I meant when I said that we need to fix the existing usage in the business logic. So I meant that we
Yep.
need to fix it in import.
So we fix all the places in Magento that we can find.
Yep.
So no, we
I
should
don't
be
expect that we have too much places, so it's supposed to be 2 or 3.
import and
2 places on
yeah, so we should refactor them and stop using show table status. But just in case somebody relies on it from extensions, we can implement a workaround. Is it okay? And we deprecate it. Everybody okay with it or no?
What kind of workaround?
Analyze table or
I against this. We cannot run analyze the table for for running application. This is totally has no.
Yeah.
Have
just a
no
workaround.
Actually,
We should not recommend using this status table at all. But in case somebody relies on it, it's better than fatal
yeah,
error.
I recommend to make measurement and based on measurement decide what's the best way
But
to do it.
what we will be measuring, we are going to refactor our
concurrent access, concurrent import with analyze table. In case this is okay, and we can guarantee that we will not introduce something very stupid for our extension developers, I'm okay with this. But this does not sound like a good solution to analyze table before each insert and import.
Anton, do you hear us? No? You can read also on the screen. What we propose is we are refactoring all places in Magento to not use table status. We'll not be using analyze table on each import. So first we refactor everything to stop using show table status. We deprecate show table status. Deprecate.
Okay.
And what else?
Let's make it even more straightforward. Let's publish each time notice that we are just cleared MySQL cache.
What do you say?
PHP has a notices, so let's throw a notice each time when we are clearing MySQL cache. So why not? For production, this will not affect anybody. For extension developers, it will show that something works not in a way that it probably should work. Throw your notice.
Maybe.
You're using something weird.
Maybe.
Actually, when we
in case we don't want
methods, do we add error message to the method about deprecation or not?
And do you know what is current behavior for MySQL? Is it analyzing tables for each query?
No, it's not each. It's periodically, because analyzing table, it rebalances indexes and it updates the index statistic information. So that it does it periodically, not for each and every query.
Okay, so can we do it periodically?
Actually, I had
But I think we'll need analyze table only once. somewhere in the beginning?
Actually, it depends, and it depends on the type of engines we use. I had a project like many years ago, like 6 or 7 years, and we have there MySQL, my sum table, and there was a periodical crash of indexes, and just the analyze table helps that, so that I had the analyze table run by cron. But this is definitely not the solution we want to introduce here, but like it may be, it just
I mean,
shadow.
MySQL 8 still returns status sometimes. So I don't think we will need analyze table all the time. We'll need it just in the beginning, probably.
Actually, because we are caching this value, I believe we will need all the time.
Yeah, but if
I believe this was the
MySQL 6 or any other MySQLs are doing it constantly, even periodically, but we are doing it in very few scenarios, maybe it is completely fine to insert analyze statement, and eventually we will run less analyze statements than it was before. So I don't see the big issue in it, unless someone is constantly running import processes.
There's a read log.
Yeah, as any merchant.
Okay,
On the
so
analyze table.
we have we have this workaround. We can implement it. We can refactor core code to stop using show table status, and we deprecate this method at all.
But this is the big concern. Which tables are locked?
It's
like the
for
original
the analyze table. It does the table lock with the read lock. So InnoDB,
As I remember, it doesn't.
It doesn't do read lock anymore. It's used to do that in old version, but not anymore.
By the way,
So
starting
reading
which version?
okay.
Initially
Starting
it
which
was
version?
the usual lock,
That's
but now it's
5.7.
5.7. For 5.6, this will be a problem. Yep. You mentioned
Yeah, but
that,
we need this workaround only for 8.
So we can do
So we will-
probably another adapter.
No, but why
Another
we need? I don't understand. You call table status. If it doesn't return out incremented, it's probably MySQL 8, right? You run analyze, you run table status again.
What about if this method returns you cached after increment?
But as I understand, it should return correct result.
Yeah, actually, for this concrete method, we can select the version of MySQL and analyze the version. It's not a big problem.
We just need to implement some workaround in the most efficient way, and it will be only temporary solution. We should discourage usage of this method. I think it shouldn't be a big problem.
If we can agree on the direction, there are probably a lot of questions that needs to be investigated, and if we agree on direction, then I would just suggest that someone will take a look at it and try to find all of the problems, measure performance, and if it works well, then we deliver it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so conclusion, we want to get rid of this method, so we deprecate it. We want to refactor our code, and we want to have a workaround. Possibly they can implement workaround first and measure it on import if it's not too hard to do, and see what's the impact, but I don't know if it's really necessary. But yeah, I guess this is the solution we all agree to. Okay, any other comments? Okay, I guess we are done with this item, and it was the last item that I have. Anybody has anything else? If not, I guess we are done for today. Thanks for joining. See you next time.